You being you is so freeing for everybody else. But that's the fear we live in, is that somebody is going to not like who I am.
You are going to know me. You're going to know my strong points, but that also means you're going to know my weak points, and allowing people to be there for you at your lowest and your darkest.
I'm just there to say, it's going to be okay. You're going to make it.
And what's deep inside you, in your core that's been planted there, is what's going to come to the surface. So what are you planting?
That is the longing we have inside of us. Tell me who God says I am.
Welcome to Authentic You, a podcast brought to you by the Women of Jesus Culture.
Hey guys, it's Becky here. Welcome to Authentic You. We are really excited for this month because we have special guest Candace Johnson. Together with her husband Eric, they are the senior pastors at Bethel Redding up in Redding, California, and just really longtime friends of ours and a really good friend of CJ. She was recently at our women's gathering here at Jesus Culture Sacramento and shared a really powerful word that we wanted to bring to you guys. So CJ hopped on a phone call and chatted with her for a little bit, had a great interview. So you're going to listen to that and then a little bit of Candace's sermon. We really hope you enjoy it.
Hi, I have Candace Johnson here with me. So thankful that you're here, Candace. And we want to let the people know a little bit about you. I've known Candace for, I remember when you got engaged. I was at your wedding. In fact, my engagement pictures are from your wedding. And we got to live down the street from each other for at least 10 years, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was quite a while. Yeah, about 10 years.
Yeah, we have fond memories of life together, really. So before we get into our interview, I would love if the listeners got to hear who you are, Candace.
Awesome. Thanks, CJ. What a privilege it is to get a chance to talk to you, even if it's over a podcast. And yes, we are so thankful for our relationship with you and Banning, and loved living down the street from you and raising our kids together. Eric and I are pastors of Bethel Church in Redding, and we've been the leaders in the church, pastors of the church, for the last 6 years. It's crazy how fast time goes.
Wow.
And Eric and I, we co-lead. We do a lot of things together, and then we have our own separate worlds that we kind of oversee, and areas that we do the staff together. Do you know, we have a staff of over 600.
Oh,
almost
my
about
goodness.
Around 600. Underneath the umbrella of Bethel. So that's even including our schools and some of the businesses, the coffee shops, Bethel Music, Bethel Media, but it's also the church and the Christian school. So it's quite large. So we help kind of lead the staff together, do staff meetings. My own part that I focus on mainly is community life and our local events and kind of nurturing and growing the body of Christ. It's something that's kind of fun for me to do. I love people. I love seeing people get connected and growing in Christ. And so we have our taglines is connect, grow, serve. Those are the main doors. So I kind of help oversee that. And then just helping people get plugged in. Hospitality, I oversee that as well. Just the care for people as they come into our environment and until they leave.
I don't do that much here.
And we have 2 daughters that are definitely not my job, but definitely a lot of what takes up my heart and time. Kennedy and Selah are 15 and 17. So, you know, we both are in seasons of raising those beautiful kids.
Oh, yeah. Those teenage years keep you busy on the run, man.
I think what was surprising to me, CJ, is, when the kids are young, everyone knows, like, it's a lot of work, changing the diapers, getting up, feed them at nighttime, and just taking care of them 24/7. I'm not sure what I thought of what happens when they turn to teenagers, but I was am surprised by the amount of emotional energy that it takes to raise teenagers, and it's required to be present. I don't know if someone told me I didn't listen, but it's been really fun, but it does take a lot of time and energy and emotional capacity to do this well.
Yes, no, it is amazing. I feel like I go to bed more tired some nights than I ever did in the toddler years. Just from emotional tiredness. And not because they're bad, just like
Yeah.
Just try, you want to navigate it well. You want to walk with them well. You want to help them and figure out where this is their lane to walk or your lane to step in and help them walk, or navigating it all. Well, one of my favorite things about you is you have always been you. Like, I have loved watching you figure out like how you want to be in ministry, how you want to be a mom, how you are a wife. And I've never felt like you were anything other than you in the journey. And that is something that on this podcast we talk about a lot, because I feel like there's power in us knowing who we are and, always growing, always spending time with the Lord to grow and having people around us who challenge us, but at the same time being okay with who God made me and that I'm in a process. And one of the things like I said, I've just loved about you is your authenticity. And I was just wondering, what are decisions that you make to remain authentic in your life, in your environment, just day to day?
Wow. Well, thanks so much for that. I love truth and honesty because it makes me feel comfortable because you don't have to question what's really going on. And so that's a compliment. So thank you so much for that. What are things that help me walk in that way? First of all, my value for honesty. Like I love that. If you wanted to make me feel insecure or uncomfortable, you just have to make me question what the truth is.
That's interesting.
And so that's one of my core values. So I expect it of myself, and I really like it. I really appreciate it in the people around me. So even our kids, like that was one of our mountains that I would die on when we were raised, as we were raising our kids, is like, you could be having a lot of things going on. That's, we'll navigate that. But like, we have to be honest with each other, because when I love people, I want to be connected. I want relationship. But how do you have good, deep relationship without trust? And how do you have trust without honesty? So I would rather have it be painful and honest than fake and have it look like something different,
Yeah.
I think for me, I think it starts with just this core value. And I think a lot of it probably has to do with the way I was raised too. My parents were divorced when I was in kindergarten, and I had, my dad's on his fourth marriage. So I had two different stepmoms growing up. And there are always so many relational dynamics, and you look at people's eyes, they say one thing, but you're feeling a whole other thing. And it just makes you question what's really going on. What do you really mean? And that always made me feel really unsafe. And so it's just something that it's really important to me. And the other thing is my love for God and who He is, and knowing that He created me, I'm made in His image. Like, there's a value that I have for myself. And maybe because I know that He loves me and He accepts me, like that's part of me taking that love and accepting myself, even if it's awkward or odd or doesn't look pretty on certain days. Like I know that I have a glory from God that for me to display that, it needs to look like, whoever He created me to be. And if I tried to be you, I would probably look okay, maybe a little awkward, but it wouldn't be who He is inside of me. So I do feel a responsibility. It's a privilege, but also responsibility to just be who God's created me to be and give what He has given me and give it away.
It's such a journey in ministry to figure out how to be yourself. Like, and me and you talked about this a lot, because I feel like at the beginning, it took the Lord really nudging the two of us, like, not because we didn't love people, but like, okay, I want to do this, but I need to do it being me. And I know for me, one of the challenges is not to look at other people and just stay focused on who does God say I am. But one of the things that I've always admired in your life is the people that come around you and that do life with you also carry that same authenticity, that same, like, this is who they are. But I have found in my journey that when you walk real, it like opens up this freedom for the people around you to also be real, be genuine in who they are. Have you seen that? Or what have you found that helps you develop leaders that, or not even leaders, but friends, community that you can truly walk honest with?
Yeah, I think whatever I would want from other people, that the best way for me to get that is just to be that myself. And just good. Like you said, it's like you ask someone, hi, how are you? And if you really want them to answer correctly, or here's the one, when I'm introducing myself to people, not that I ask this all the time, but I would, even if it's a kid, oh, what's your name? How old are you? And am I willing? I like to be willing. I'm 41 years old. How old are you? Like if I'm expecting them to give me something of some portion of vulnerability, then I better be willing to offer it first, a place to invite them into. And specifically in any type of context, relationally or small groups, like I love modeling. Like if I'm going to ask and expect someone to get vulnerable, then I usually just lay down and offer it first.
Absolutely.
And then people can take it from there. And then usually, and my gift is not being polished.
Yes.
You're welcome, world.
Oh, yes. I feel the same way.
It doesn't, I can try, but it's just honestly not my gift. But I am good at being real. So I think sometimes that just kind of creates the environment for that to happen. And obviously we all carry our own responsibility of how much we want to show people and how much we want to open up and what's appropriate in a given time. But I generally am it's relative, I guess, but I'm pretty open and I'm not extremely private either. So I kind of like talking about things and random things, personal things, and that a lot of times creates the place for that stuff to happen in relationships.
Yes, absolutely. You came and spoke at our women's gatherings. We've talked about them here on the podcast of just our women's gatherings. The women feel so safe, it seems. They just share. It has created this amazing community here at JC Sacramento. But when you shared, you talked a lot about walls we face and that sometimes they can be paper thin, sometimes they can be a solid brick wall. And I was just wondering, as I was re-looking at it, like, what are some walls that you have faced, or just examples? Because I feel like as people begin to walk and hear this type of stuff, like, what is a wall that I could be facing that maybe I don't even realize I'm facing or that I'm scared to walk through?
Oh, gosh, there's so many walls in every season. And like you said, they're a different level of thickness. My favorite ones are the paper ones that it takes one little breath and you're like, oh, they're gone.
Yeah.
But walls, from a lot of it, honestly, with my boxes in my brain, how I see things, I put boxes around things without even knowing it. Like even getting married. I remember going through a little bit of worry and anxiety right before I married Eric, and everything. There was no reason I needed to worry. But I started to go, oh my gosh, the reality hit me. He comes from a pastor's family. What's he going to expect of me? And I started worrying about all this stuff. Do my kids have to go to Christian school? Am I going to be controlled? And that was not even a part of our relationship. But there was just stuff. I had to face walls that were actually in my brain. It was so weird and surprising. And as soon as I stopped letting it, fear and worry come in, honestly, when I started just being honest and talking about it, being honest with myself and then with Eric, it just started truth. There really was no truth in that. There was just fear.
Mm-hmm.
But there's every single season, having kids, stepping into church. Oh gosh, that was a huge wall. Pastoring. There was this wall called pastoring. And I was sure that I did not fit in the pastoring box because I really don't like paint. I don't like shopping. I don't like mauve and lavender and hanging out with women and doing typical women things.
Yes, amen.
And I don't always say, I'm not very presentable always. I just thought, honestly, I do not fit in that role because there was this wall that I called pastoring, and it definitely do not pass go. You don't belong in here. And that's something that God really had to take this hammer and it was honestly mostly my mind, and break that off of me. And it took me being humble, being honest, and being willing. Like, okay, then I'm going to lay down what I think and all the preconceived ideas I have around pastoring, and I actually feel like I actually know God's opening a door for me. And then the question is, am I going to walk through it?
Yeah.
And it looked like just saying a season of saying yes. Like, even though I don't know that I picked this, I'm not sure, but when God opens a door, I'm a fool not to walk through it.
Yeah.
That's how I feel often. I'm like, people, like, you just don't make these things happen. And then God opens the door and you're like, it's him. And you just go, okay, we're going to do this. And you don't base things off of your emotions or feelings or even the weird thoughts I have in my head. And I just start to lay them down and be honest with God. And so those are just, there's so many walls, but most of them originate from within my head.
Oh, yeah. No, I mean, I love when you talk to other women and you get to have an honest conversation with them, because I learn so much that, sometimes we can live in our own little bubble and you kind of assume, well, this is the walls I face, or these are the challenges I face. Everybody must understand this or face it to some extent. And when you actually talk to women, you hear, and men too. I always say men are welcome to listen, but come on, women are pretty amazing. No, I'm just kidding. But when I talk to these other women, I am amazed at what they face, and that the world is so big, and that we all have different challenges. There's not just 3 challenges we face in life. There's like so many different things that women face, and to bring freedom to like, hey, you're okay. Your challenge or your wall might not be the same as mine, but that's okay. You can still walk through it, and we believe in you. I loved how you said that just speaking belief in people and who they are is so powerful. And I thought, I want to be that person in people's lives. I want to be able to look at somebody and say, I believe in you for your wall. But if I don't know their wall, I can't speak into that. If they, if I haven't opened myself up for them to be able to tell me what they're walking through, or if they haven't opened up, we can't be that for each other.
Oh, yeah. I think that's probably one of the biggest blessings of family and community is when you're connected to someone and we can see each other. I believe that we all carry keys to unlock each other. Like the things that God does in our lives are not just for us. They're actually meant for us to aim them towards each other. That's actually biblical. That's Galatians 5:13. It's everything that God does in us. I honestly think we hold the keys to each other. And I think that belief is one of the strongest things that we can aim towards each other. And I'd say even in my life, that the things that I step into and the courage that I have, a lot of times comes from other people.
Oh, yeah.
It didn't originate just within me.
No, absolutely. As I've gotten older, I have realized the impact my dad has had on my life. And my dad has this way, and I've watched him do it with my kids, of he truly believes that me, my kids, my siblings are the greatest people on the planet. Like, if I wanted to be president, if I wanted to take over the world, I know my dad thinks I can do it. And it is like this weird thing that I realized as an adult, like, oh my gosh, I think I can do stuff that I really am unqualified for simply because my dad believed in me. And what's awesome to me is it's not like my dad's perfect, but man, he carries that.
Yeah.
I watch him do it with my kids. Like one of my kids is facing college and she wants to do a major that's pretty intense. And my dad just saw her and was like, you're going to be the very best. And I know he truly means it. It's not just words. And for me, it really got me over the hump in so many areas of my life, was just this belief he had in me.
Yeah, it's crazy how powerful belief is. I was teaching kindergartners to read years ago, and we'll just sit them down and say, we're going to start practicing reading, and you're going to do great, and we'll encourage them. We had kids, that knew so much. And I'd say, you're going to read. This is going to be so much fun. And they'd say, Miss Candace, I can't read. I said, oh, you're going to be very surprised. And we'd start with cat. And I'd say, what letter is that? And they'd say, Miss Candace, I can't read. And I'm like, oh, I think you can. We'd go back and forth. And finally they'd say, it's a C. What sound does that make? I don't know. I can't read. The response, even though I knew it wasn't true, because this kid knew all their letters, all their sounds. And it was this painstaking process. And then I'd pull somebody back who I knew they didn't know some letters. They were missing some of their sounds. And I would think, I wonder how this is going to work out. And I'd say, come on, sit down. We're going to read together. They're like, yep, I am. I'm going to read. And I'm like, yes, you are. And thinking, I wonder how this is going to happen. And they'd sit down and I'd say, okay, now we're just going to say each letter and then we'll just sound it out. We'll turtle talk it really slow. What letter is this? And they'll go, that's a C. And I'm like, and do you know what sound that makes? Yes. Ka. And then I'm like, the next letter, they're like, that's an A. What sound does that make? And I would have to help them a little bit. And they'd go, ka-ah. And they put it together. See, look I knew I could read.
Wow.
And those kids picked it up instantaneously when I knew their learning had more holes in it. And the kids who didn't think that they could, they didn't actually believe they could read, they made it so challenging. And I just like, oh my gosh, that was the biggest example to me of how important belief is for us. Like as people, I think we have so much potential. We could have all the skill sets for something, but if we don't believe in ourselves, that we actually aren't capable of doing it. Like we can make it so hard, even though God has given us everything to do stuff. And so I think one of the biggest gifts that I can give people is just to believe in them. And I've experienced it where I've actually lived off of someone else's belief. Like I didn't have it in myself, but someone would be like, Candace, I know you can do it. You can speak at Bethel right behind Bill Johnson and Chris Valentin. I'm like, I don't know. What could I say that they haven't already said? I mean, really.
Oh, absolutely.
Like, I believe that the world needs to hear your voice, and I will do whatever to get you up on that stage. And I'm like, really? Okay, I'll do it, Eric. I'll tell you know.
Yeah.
And it's like finally I just said yes because my friend was like, I know you're supposed to do this. And I'm like, you do? Okay, I'm doing it.
Oh, gosh. Oh, yes. No. Sometimes I want to slap those friends and just say, don't tell me I can do it. I'll tell you when I want to do it. No, but that is what we all need in our life. Well, before we end, I wanted to just ask, and this can be in ministry, it can be in your personal life, like what is the thing that you are enjoying the very most right now? And then also, what is the thing that is your biggest challenge that you are pushing through and facing?
Oh gosh, enjoying the most. Ooh, that's a hard one to narrow it down to one. I would say our house and our property, the place where we dwell. The Lord just gifted us with 15 acres, and we have a pool for the first time in Redding. In the last year and a half, we've lived there. And I am personally enjoying it. Like, There's so much peace on our property, and I'll walk. I walk every day. We have trails, and I just feel the pleasure of God. It's relaxing. I feel refreshed. We would get words from people in the last 10 years. You're going to move to a place, and finally, that's restful. That will feel like vacation. You won't even want to leave. And it happened for so long, and we were living in our old house. And I'm like, please, when is this actually ever going to happen? I don't want another word until it happens. And so we're finally there, and it's crazy. It's exactly what all the words were. It's so relaxing and refreshing, and it's fun. My whole family feels the joy of that, and we've hanged in the pool. So no question, probably one of the most areas of enjoyment personally and as a family right now would just be our house. We're just so thankful. Challenge. Oh gosh, there's always a lot of challenges. What would probably be one of the biggest ones? Okay, I'll just get honest and vulnerable. This would be, I'm going to pick a personal one, even though I can pick ones in lots of different areas.
Yes.
A personal one would just be the raising teenagers. Our oldest daughter has a boyfriend for the first time, and they're doing great, but it's staying close. It's figuring out how much do I say every single time she asks a question. Eric and I just have to look at each other and be like, what should we say? I don't know. I have to make up stuff all the time. And then be like, is that the right thing or not? And then stuff gets scary. Like my kids are so close to me that they in one instance, they could rip my heart out.
Absolutely.
And that's such a scary, vulnerable place to be for someone. Like, I'm pretty logical. I'm safe. I'm calculated when it comes to things that could really damage you. And with your kids, I just can't live like that. I just have to live all out. And it just is pretty vulnerable. And so in this season where they're getting so much more powerful because of their age and the decisions that they're making, I just okay, Lord, I trust you, and I got to give you my heart, and I got to give my heart to them as well. So that's probably one of the bigger areas of challenge for me right now.
Oh, I would completely agree. I mean, there's so many things you face in life that are a challenge, but man, those kids have access to your heart like nobody else. You're like, do you understand what you can do to me with the slightest moment? Yeah.
I know they're so powerful in my life.
Oh, man. And this season of teenagers is so letting go, oh my God. Yeah. Anyway, but it has been such a blessing to talk to you. And the journey with your house, obviously we lived on the same street. We actually lived in the same house, the same floor plan. Yeah. So I know that journey of just believing God and knowing that He has something great for you. And one of the things I always loved about you and Eric and just the way your family walked is you were never unhappy where you were. Like you were always thankful, and like I always remember the pride you had in wherever you were. Like you valued your home, and it just was always something you guys carried so well. There was never this like, well, I need more. It was like, oh, the Lord, so I have loved watching the dream unfold, the 15 acres and this amazing house for you guys and the peace that's there. And I just feel you can see the Lord so pleased and like, you've done this well. You guys were never dissatisfied with where I had you.
Oh, thanks. He's so kind to us.
Yes, he is. He is. But thank you so much for joining us. And I hope you all enjoyed hearing Candace. And Banning already popped in here. Banning says Candace Johnson is his personal pastor. It's a big joke we have. And her husband, Eric, is my personal pastor because in the end, it's really about Christmas gifts, I think. I think that's the deciding factor because Eric and I think there's never enough Christmas gifts. And Banning and Candace think it's all practical. Like they should have
a little more logical.
Yeah, like pencils would be a fine gift for Christmas because who doesn't need pencils?
I mean, speak the truth.
No, but Banning and I love you guys. We are honored to walk with you and love your girls.
Thank you, CJ. Thanks for the time, and I would bless you and all that you guys are doing. You guys are doing amazing.
With over 30 years of collective experience, Danny Silk and his team at Loving on Purpose have compiled the Life Academy video curriculum to help you thrive in every area of your life. Here's Danny Silk.
For centuries, we've trained our children in algebra, geography, and history to prepare them for life. Yet the skills to love well, build and protect relationships, communicate successfully through conflict, or to teach our children self-control feel all too elusive. We spend thousands of dollars on schooling throughout our life, never learning how to relate to others. That's really what has inspired me to launch the Loving on Purpose Life Academy.
And right now, JCLP listeners who sign up for the Relationships Core Track will get a 50% discount by entering the code JCLP50. Again, that's JCLP50. To find out more about the Loving on Purpose Life Academy and to sign up for the Relationships Core Track, go to LOPLifeacademy.com. Again, that's LOPLifeacademy.com.
Hey, everybody. I'm really excited for you guys to hear Candace's sermon from our women's gathering. She has been a dear friend for a long time, and her message at the women's gathering really impacted so many women of just bringing freedom to walk through our obstacles, walk through what scares us, and I'm excited for you guys to hear a clip of it.
I'm encouraged and inspired by Moses. Moses is amazing. He led a nation out of captivity, out of being held captive in Egypt. That's incredible that you would be known for something so great like that. And I read the story, but it's not as romantic as you led a nation to freedom. It's he was born a Hebrew, raised in Egypt. We know he was actually raised in Pharaoh's house. And then as he gets older, he goes out and sees the way that the Hebrews were treated. And as he looks around, he's bothered by the oppression, enough to where he kills an Egyptian. And the story goes, he kills the Egyptian, and then he's so afraid that he just flees. So he gets older, and he knows something inside of him is passionate for his people, and it bothers him so much that he murders someone. And then he's afraid, so he flees to Midian. And we're in Exodus 2, verse 21. So he's in Midian, and this man was born for greatness. And I just want you to know that in this room that there is greatness. I see destiny in this room and influencers. And so I hope that this inspires you, because I think sometimes when we separate ourselves or distance ourselves from people who have done great things, we think, oh, I'm nothing like that. I just want to say, yes, you are like that you have destiny and greatness on your life. And Moses did from the time that he was born. And so even when he went out and saw the oppression and it bothered him, that was God. That's who God created him to be. But then he responded by murdering, and then he fled. And in verse 21, it says, then Moses was content to live with the man. He gave Zipporah, his daughter, to Moses. So Moses fled to Midian, and he decides to get married. And it says he was content. How many of us just choose to live with contentment? Just being content, but not living with what God has created us to do and to be. And I just think in Moses' life, he runs from that thing that was bothering him and chooses to be content. In verse 3:1, it says, now Moses was tending the flock of Jethro, his father-in-law, the priest of the Midian. And so he runs off instead of actually doing anything to free a nation or to actually walk in his destiny. He runs the other way. And I just think, how many of us run from what we're called to do, or run from either desires or the things that are so big in our mind, they scare us? Like, could I ever really do that? And then it says he was tending the flock. And I think even as women, how many of us just get stuck in tending? Like, it's easy as women because, we can just take care of other people instead of actually living out the things inside of our heart. I mean, and that's actually pretty satisfying. I love taking care of people. But we're responsible to steward who God has made us to be and the things that he's put on our hearts. And it's easy to hide when you're a woman to take care of people because it's actually, a lot of us, if you have a family, it's part of your responsibility, right? So it's easy to I'm just taking care of them. Oh, you go first, you do this. And if I'm not taking care of my children, I'm taking care of my parents. But you're always taking care of somebody else. And I just want to say tonight that don't get stuck in the tending. But you're worth it. And there's stuff in you that the world needs. There's a destiny here, and there's a destiny sitting in each one of these seats. And it's really important. And I think about, what helps me is I think about who does it cost the most if I don't step into my destiny? Like, if you actually don't do the things that are on your heart, who actually is going to pay the price? Is it going to be your family? Is it going to be other women? If you actually don't walk in freedom, is it going to be your city or your nation? I wonder what keys you hold to unlock in the world and to influence the world. I would propose that they're very great because you're sitting in this room. And this isn't just by chance that you're here and that you're rallied with this people. So Moses is hiding. And then in Exodus 3, verse 7, God calls him. The Lord said, I have surely seen the oppression of my people who are in Egypt and have heard their cries because they're taskmasters, for I know their sorrows. So then he mentions the promise. Verse 10, he says, come now, therefore, I will send you to Pharaoh that you may bring my people, the children of Israel out of Egypt. And I honestly believe that this was in Moses' heart. Because even how much the oppression bothered him, I don't think this was very far from what was actually burning inside of his heart. But I think that passion freaked him out, and the journey was too big and scary. And this is the part that encourages me, is Moses' response. In his response, he replies, who am I that I should go to Pharaoh and that I should bring the children of Israel out of Egypt? That's the part that's not so romantic. This great savior of Egypt. Who am I? How many times when we look at what God has put in us, or even the things that, could it be that great? God, who am I? How many excuses do we have? And that's easy. It's easy to hide. It's easy to justify and to push off. And I would say, let's not push off anymore. The world is waiting for us. The world's waiting for you. I was talking with Cindy Jacob years back. You guys brought her in for Jesus Culture, I think. And she was talking about her first book that she wrote. And she said, I just wrote out, and I don't know if it was on prophecy. I've never read her first book, but she just kind of talks like this, like she just commands stuff. And she was like, yep, I just wrote it all down, and it was simple. It was just stuff that God was doing and teaching. And one of the ladies read it, and she came to me, and she said, we know this stuff. I could have written this book. She said, I know, but you didn't. And I thought, oh, wow, how true is that? Out of all the stuff that's being produced and the songs that are being written and the books that are being written and all the stuff that's happening, how many of us have those ideas and those things burning inside of us, and how many of us do things about them? And that's why I just say, let that put a fire underneath you right now. That we will all give an account for what we've done with our lives and our time. And I think, and this is even conviction for me, because even now I'm like, oh, what holds me back? I think in this season, for some reason, lack of discipline. I'm having a hard time disciplining myself, and I am a very disciplined person. Just know I know. There it is. Like, I'm not waking up extra early to go running. Like, it's just hard, and normally that stuff's easy. But I actually feel this, like, you have to push through this, Candace, because you have to step into what I've called you to step into, and you're not the only one who's going to pay for it. You're not the only one who's going to pay when you don't step into what he's created you for. So I just say, let the fire just burn underneath you. It's okay. So Moses, he goes on, and God is so kind with him. He goes on to give excuses after everything God asks him to do. He's like, what is it in chapter 4, verse 1? But suppose they will not believe me or listen to my voice. Suppose they say, the Lord has not appeared to you. In verse 10, he says, God keeps telling him, go down there, tell Pharaoh this and that. And verse 10, he says, oh, my Lord, I am not eloquent, neither before nor since you have spoken to your servant. But I am slow of speech, slow of tongue. We have a million excuses, and some of them are completely true. We can be slow of speech, but God can do whatever he wants. And if there's a desire in you, then put some legs to it, knock on the door, and ask God about it. Because I don't think it's for nothing. And God was so kind, he actually says he burned with anger after Moses said that. But he said, well, Aaron, he's your brother, a Levite. He's great speech. He can go with you and he'll be your mouthpiece. Yep, now you guys will go. And God actually adjusts for him. The Lord is kind. And we're not alone, and he will provide for us. Yeah, even in chapter 6. So we've gone from chapter 2 to chapter 6, and God continually telling Moses and backing him up and signs and wonders. And he even says in verse 30 of 6, behold, I am of uncircumcised lips, and how shall Pharaoh heed me? As you keep going on the journey, Moses stops making excuses because he starts to learn how faithful the Lord is, how faithful and true he is. And that is our God. He is faithful and true. It doesn't always look like we think it's going to look, but he is faithful and true. What are the walls that hold you back? Feelings of inadequate is like Moses. You have so many reasons to be inadequate. I'd say even for me, I am at Bethel. When they ask me to speak on Sunday mornings, do you think that is the most amazing feeling? For some of you, like, yeah, give me the microphone. And it's like, oh, cool, Bill Johnson just spoke. Chris Valentin just spoke. Eric just spoke. They're amazing people that speak all year long on every stage around the world. Candace, do you want to speak? No way. What could I say that they didn't already say? And God convicts me on that. He convicts me. Are you serious? Have I not given you good things? Who am I not to you? You have stuff to give that they can't give. And if you don't give it, who's going to give it? Just because you're not like them? And I feel humbled. I'm like, okay. And I go back to the loaves. Do you know that when the people were hungry, what is it, Matthew 15? And they're multiplying the food. And they said, Jesus, they're hungry. We need to feed them. And he said, well, what do you have? He started with what they have. Well, we have some loaves and some fish. We'll start giving it away. That's all that we're required to do is to give what we have. That's the easiest place to start. So if there are walls, like just stop looking at the walls. I feel inadequate. Probably so. Sometimes it's not really healthy to look around. That's when you just look up. Don't look around. Do you know I went through a season at church when I was in high school? I don't think I've done it at Bethel. Maybe I have sometimes. I just go like this. And it's more of my just stop looking around, Candace. The Lord will take care of you, and he will provide for you, and he is worthy, and he is good, and you've got this. He's got this. He's faithful. He is who he says he is, and he will do what he says he will do. That's truth. So I don't really need to worry about what Bill Johnson said right before I got up, right? Even though I want to. I mean, I want all his stuff. He's amazing. But I actually am responsible to step in and give what I have, regardless of how amazing Eric is or anyone else around me. What holds you back? Feeling inadequate? Fear. Fear is a monster. We all know that. If you think you're going to play with fear and let it have a little of you, it will always take more than you want to give. We cannot play with fear. If there's something, this is what I do with fear. If there's something I'm afraid of, I just know I have to do it. Like, oh no, you can't do that. I'll do it. Even in school, it'd be like, oh, I don't want to give that speech. Who wants to go first? I do. It's kind of when you just face it, what can it do? Oh no, planes are crashing. Maybe I shouldn't fly. I'm like, I'm going somewhere. Who wants to be alive but not really live? We cannot play with fear. Fear is a monster, and it will keep you from your destiny and everything that the Lord created you for. Let's not play with it. Bad past experiences, let's get over it. If you had a bad past experience with leadership, with churches, with women's gatherings, with you name it, let it go. Don't let it hold you back. Because you have a destiny and we need you. So whatever that wall is, poke through it. Discouragement, lack of hope. Lack of hope will make us sick. So that's why we just need to keep looking at God. Keep looking at God and then ride on someone else's hope. You know that you could do that? Sometimes I don't even know, I have hope or belief for things. And there's people next to me and I'm like, I've got hope for it, Candace. We got this. I'm like, okay, we can do this. If you need someone else to hold your arms up, that's okay. Just don't isolate yourself. Sometimes you need people when it gets too hard. People to sow into, people to hold your hands up, people to say, I have hope for you. I have hope for your children. Because sometimes there's times where it's so hard that you're not even sure what's going to happen. But when you're not in the middle of it, it's clear as day. It's so easy when I look at families and what kids are doing, and I'm like, this is going to be great. You don't know, you're not sure right now, but they're going to make it through. They're not going to make it through, but they're going to have a testimony. And they're going to have keys to unlock other people. And we need each other to stand by each other. We need to lend our belief and hope towards each other. Things that hold us back, lies. Lies. Oh, Lord, help us identify the lies. That's why I just released a spirit of truth tonight. If there are any thoughts in our heads, anything that we're partnering with, that's a lie, I pray that it be clear as day.
The presence of God changes everything. With just one encounter, our lives, homes, and cities can be transformed. We're excited to gather for Encounter Conference 2018 in 2 locations, Sacramento, California, and Manchester, UK. During our 3 days together in each city, our heart is that you would have a life-changing encounter with the love and power of God, and that you would be equipped to walk in the fullness of His call on your life. Visit encounter18.com to register. Again, that's encounter18.com to register. Encounter18.com.
Thanks for joining us for Authentic You. We love bringing this podcast to you guys. It is a ton of fun for us. Keep the feedback coming. We'd love to hear what you think. You can hop on Instagram at JC Podcast or on Twitter at JC Podcast and let us know what you're thinking and tell us how much more you like this podcast than the JCLP. Although I am definitely biased because I'm on both, but in the end, my loyalty lies with CJ, not banning. So check us out and leave a review on iTunes as well. And until next time, we'll see you guys later.
Renew us in this day, just like you said you would. Your word is not in vain. Our hearts reaching heavenward. Fresh outpouring, tear the fabric off. breath of heaven, nothing left unshaken. We long for more. We need a fresh outpouring. Unleash a fresh outpouring.